Christianity is Platonism for the people. At least that's what Nietzsche said. But what does that even mean? Because on the surface, Christianity and Plato seem completely different. One is an ancient Greek philosopher talking about reason and abstract ideas. The other is a religion centered around God and salvation. But Nietzsche thought they shared something fundamental. To understand why, you first have to understand one of Plato's strongest ideas. Think about dogs for a second. You've seen tiny dogs, huge dogs, fluffy dogs, hairless dogs, dogs that barely even look like dogs, dogs that look like wolves, dogs that look like walking mops. And yet somehow you instantly know, yep, that's a dog. But why? What exactly makes a dog a dog? Plato thought that wasn't a coincidence. He believed that beyond this physical world exists another world. A world not made of matter, but of perfect ideas. Not perfect objects floating around somewhere. Perfect concepts. The perfect form of a dog, the perfect form of a chair, even the perfect form of justice or beauty. The things around us aren't these perfect things themselves. They are more like imperfect copies. Every chair you ever sat on is just an attempt at being chair itself. Every act of justice is only an imperfect reflection of justice itself. To Plato, the world around us wasn't the highest reality. The highest reality was this world of perfect forms, and everything here was just a shadow of it. And this is where Nietzsche comes in, because Christianity seemed to him to be doing something similar. Christianity also appears to divide reality into two worlds, this world here and now, and something higher beyond it, God, heaven, eternity. And this is why Nietzsche had beef with Plato and Christianity. He thought that Plato and Christianity taught people to look away from life itself. Because if the true world exists somewhere else, then what happens to this one? If perfection exists beyond life, then ordinary life starts to look small, temporary, inferior. Why fully embrace this world if the real reward comes later? Why love the copy if perfection exists somewhere else? Nietzsche thought this was dangerous. He believed people were sacrificing the life in front of them for an imagined world beyond it. But wait a minute. When I actually look around, I don't really see that. I know Christians can work hard. They build businesses, raise families, create art, laugh, travel, fall in love, enjoy life. They're not sitting in dark rooms waiting for heaven. They're deeply invested in this world. So was Nietzsche wrong? Maybe. But I think there's something more interesting happening here. Because maybe this isn't really about Christianity. Maybe it's about us. Because we tend to imagine ourselves as simple. I believe something, so I do it. End of story. Except that doesn't really feel true. Because inside your head, there isn't one voice. There are 100. Part of me wants discipline, part of me wants comfort. Part of me wants long-term happiness, part of me wants to stay in bed. Part of me wants to save money, part of me wants to buy something completely useless. And then I came across Johann Friedrich Herbart. Herbart? Herbart. Not exactly the celebrity of psychology, but he imagined the mind as a place where ideas compete. Some become strong enough to rise into awareness, others lose and sink beneath it. Not destroyed, just kinda suppressed. And maybe that's happening all the time. Maybe the ideas that lose don't disappear. Maybe they wait. Years later, Freud took ideas like this further. He thought that things outside our awareness might influence us far more than we realize. Maybe there are things quietly pulling on the strings from behind the scenes. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. But then the rabbit hole goes deeper. Dostoyevsky. Up until this point, I was still assuming that people actually wanted to live according to what they believe. That if we fail, something simply interfered. Competing ideas, hidden motivations, something underneath. But Dostoyevsky thought something stranger might be happening. Because people don't only fail. Sometimes people knowingly go against themselves. We procrastinate, stay awake too late, say things we know we will regret, ruin opportunities. And what's weird is that sometimes we do these things while fully understanding they're bad ideas. So his thought was, maybe part of us resists becoming perfectly rational. Maybe part of us doesn't want life to become input, calculation, output. And honestly, I don't completely buy that. Because I can actually imagine living like a robot. I've lived like a robot before. Wake up, exercise, take a shower, go to work, come back from work, shower, work on my YouTube channel, meditate, sleep, repeat. And there is something satisfying about it, because it works. Consistency builds things. If you want a great physique, consistency wins. If you want results, consistency wins. Predictable habits make life easier. They make goals possible. So yeah, Dostoyevsky might be wrong on this one. But hang on, now that I think about it, if I had to live like that forever, something about that also feels strange. Because sometimes you want to treat yourself. Sometimes you want a cheat meal. Sometimes you want to skip the workout. Sometimes you want to spend time with your family instead. Sometimes you want to randomly go somewhere where you've never been. Sometimes you want to play a game you haven't touched in years. Not because it's productive, not because it helps, just because you feel like it. Okay, now I'm stuck, because one part of me wants order, one part wants spontaneity. One part wants structure, one part wants freedom. And after all of this, maybe we should look at Nietzsche's quote differently. When I first heard Christianity is Platonism for the people, I thought he was talking about religion being a distraction because it makes you shift focus from real life towards a different, ideal one that is theoretical only. Just like Plato's world of forms is a distraction, according to Nietzsche at least. But after going through Plato, Herbart, Freud, Dostoyevsky, I'm not so sure anymore. Because through this entire rabbit hole, I kept running into the same thing. Ideas. Ideas about truth. Ideas about who we are supposed to be. Ideas about who we think we are. And maybe Nietzsche wasn't criticizing Christianity because it had ideas. I guess he was criticizing what happens when ideas become more important than life itself. And I actually agree with that. But then again, I also spent this entire video disagreeing by realizing that we don't seem to fully obey our ideas anyway. Life doesn't stay inside the lines. Life contradicts itself. Life changes. Life doesn't fit perfectly inside our philosophies. Honestly, I don't know where to go from here anymore. So if you have any thoughts on this, please let me know, because now I'm interested what other people think. Thank you for watching.